So yesterday we learned a little bit about the different parts of a React app, the 4 things we must have in order to have a React app. We've got to have the React library. We've got to have an empty element on the page that we can replace. We've got to have at least one component, and then we have to put in a line of JavaScript that replaces that empty element with our component. And that's about all we have to do. In practice, we do a little more than that, because while you could create a component with React.createElement, React.createComponent, that kind of thing, that gets ugly really quickly. And we have JSX, which is a very nice way of doing the same thing. So we use JSX, but JSX is an extension to JavaScript. It's not actually JavaScript. So we have to translate it into JavaScript before our browser is going to know how to interpret it. So we need a whole build system. We actually have to compile this stuff. Not compiling it into machine code, which is why you hear people often say transpile. You can say transpile, you can say compile. But the point is, the code that we write is not exactly the code that's going to run in the browser. It has to be transformed first. So we need a whole build system, and those things are a nightmare to configure. And we're not going to learn how to configure them. We're going to cheat. But it's not cheating. We're going to use create React app. Does everybody know React was created by Facebook? I'm not sure I actually mentioned that. So they've done one non-evil thing. Create React app is an official Facebook project. It's on GitHub. It has a very, very long README. Super well documented. Just the table of contents. A lot of good stuff. And the point is, create React apps with no build configuration. It's already configured for you, so you just use this as the basis for your project, and you don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to tell it that you need everything to run through Babel and to output the code in this directory and to do all that stuff. So it is pre-configured to do a lot of the really common stuff that people do in their React apps. And if you do need to modify the build configuration yourself, you still can. You can escape from create React app once you've used it and do all the manual configuration your heart desires. Our hearts desire none. So hopefully you all installed create React app as part of your setup instructions. You can find out by typing create React app and seeing if it's there, or just do which. Let's do which create React app and see if you get anything back. Hopefully you do. If you don't, to install it, just do yarn add global create-react-app to install it, which may take a minute. So go ahead and start doing that if you don't have it locally. But we're going to use create React app to actually create an app. So I am, again, up in the parent directory where all my projects live. I'm not creating this in a subfolder of one of my other projects. That would be bad. So I type create-react-app and then the name of my project, which is Note Herder. We're going to herd some notes. Once you've done this once, it's pretty fast on subsequent runs unless something changes. There we go. Let's make this a little bigger for a moment. Success! Create a note herder at my directory. Inside there, I can run several commands. Yarn start, and if you use npm instead of yarn, it gives you the npm commands instead. It's smart enough to know which one you're using. Yarn start starts the development server. Yarn build bundles the app into static files for production. Yarn test starts the test runner. Yarn eject removes this tool and copies build direct dependencies, configuration files, and scripts into the app directory. If you do this, you can't go back. So let's not do this. Let's not you do this. I'm going to do it just to look at it. So I'm going to real quick just make a copy of this thing. Ejected. So don't you do what I'm about to do. I'm going to go into my ejected directory. I'm going to open that in code real quick. This is going to look a lot like Dwarf Underground. I've got node modules directory. When you run create React app, it already runs yarn install or npm install. So your node modules directory is already there. You've got a public directory. It has just a few things in it. You've got a source directory where all your React code lives. And you've got a gitignore, package JSON, readme, and yarn.lock. Yarn.lock stores the specific versions of everything that got installed. I type yarn eject. Yes, I'm sure. And now I have a config directory. And in here, I have inv.js, path.js, polyfills.js, webpack config. I think I also got a scripts directory here now, build, start, test. So I got several new configuration files. Webpack config.dev.js. Let's have a look at that. All right, this is a lot. This is 262 lines. A lot of comments, though. So this is the thing. This is our build system, basically. Webpack is one of several build systems you can use for JavaScript development. It's a pretty popular one. It's the default one in React, but there are others. And basically, it's the thing that'll process your code and run any number of tasks on it. So it's already pre-configured here to run Babel, to translate JSX into JavaScript, and to do lots of other stuff. If you look through here, it is extremely well commented. So you can see basically what every single line of this is doing. Anybody know what a polyfill is? So sometimes you want to use a web feature that isn't supported on some older browsers, but someone has written a JavaScript file that kind of translates your code into whatever it would need to be to work on the older browsers without you having to write both versions of it. That's basically what a polyfill is. It can try to add new CSS features to old browsers, new HTML elements to old browsers, as well as just change some of your JavaScript code, but more common for like CSS and HTML. All kinds of crazy stuff here that just makes our lives easier. We don't have to mess with any of that. So again, that's what happens when you run eject. So if you need to change your Webpack config for some reason, if you need to change your build process, you can do it using this. But we are perfectly happy with the defaults that Create React App provides. So I'm going to change into my note herder directory. And I think the output there said to start by typing yarn start. Let's go ahead and open up our code before we do that. Then we'll type, shucks. Wrong monitor had the focus. So we'll get this open, and then we can type yarn start, which starts a development server. And automatically opens it up in the browser. Here's our development server running. Don't forget, you can just open up a new tab in your terminal to keep typing commands. You don't have to worry about the fact that your server's running. How do you kill the server? Control-C. So anytime you're killing a shell command, basically Control-C. And that is control whether you're, regardless of operating system. It's not Command-C on a Mac. Yeah, Colin?
I ran the yarn at local create React app, and then I tried to do the which create.
You will need to open up a new tab or a new terminal window before it'll be found, probably. So open up a new terminal window and try again. Here it is. This is default React app. Nothing much to it. But hey, we've got a React app now. Looks like we've got package JSON, which we know has our dependencies in it. We've got a yarn.lock. We've already got a gitignore. So we're already ignoring the node modules folder. So we're not going to commit all that stuff. Got some other stuff in here like DS store. Cool. Well, even though we haven't changed anything yet, let's go ahead and commit that much just so we can get our repository going. So let's git add. Sorry, git init I meant, right? Make sure you're in the right directory. Git init inside my note header directory. Git add. Git commit. Initial commit with create React app. Once you've committed, you can go out to GitHub, create a repository, copy those 2 lines, git remote add origin, and git push -u origin master. Remember, if you paste those commands and you get some error that involves ref spec, that means you haven't committed anything yet. So you'll need to commit your code and then run git push -u origin master again. So do all that stuff.
Still didn't work.
Okay, just a second. Let me make sure all this works. Did I copy everything? I may not have copied everything. Whoops. Wrong folder.